for now it's very simple. May I call upon the Vice President who would like to call on the President to speak. Vice President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patrick. Mr. President, good morning, sir. Good morning, members of the press. Let me also recognize the presence of all party officials. I think my task is equally very simple this morning. Testing one, testing one. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me start again. What does that mean? I'm going to use this microphone.
Yes, Latu.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. What has happened? Who has bewitched the mic? Am I not audible? Am I not loud enough?
We can hear.
I think you can hear. Hello? Thank you very much. Morning, Mr. President, once again. Morning, I think, all party officials. Morning, members of the press. I think my task is very simple this morning. My task is to call upon the President of the UPND, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, who address members of the press and all of you who are here, and indeed the country at large. He has a few issues issues which I think are important, not only to our party, but of course to the country. So let me take this opportunity to call upon the President to come and address us. Mr. President, I call upon you to address us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vice President of our party, UPND. Also, I recognize other leaders who are here with us at the top table. Thank you for being here this morning. I must also recognize, obviously, the presence of I must also recognize the presence of our other colleagues, our supporters in the organization that are here, and the press, very, very important that they're here because they will transmit our message to the rest of the country and the world. Today's briefing, which is transmitted through a live radio program. As we speak, we are live across the country, by and large, so that was the structure. So just so you are conscious of what you say, what you do, because you are live. Basically, you're live across the country. So we want to spend a bit of time talking about the dialogue process today. The dialogue process, let me start by saying, is a very important aspect of any civilized society. Any civilized society must acknowledge the importance of dialogue when they're challenged on issues. Issues take different forms. In our case, we have instability in our country, occasioned by many factors. Many factors that include the mismanagement of our electoral process. A clear mismanagement of our electoral process. In the electoral process, the elections are supposed to be an opportunity to elect credible leaders who will run the country on behalf of the population. But we've seen in our country that elections have become a source of conflict because they are not managed properly. In many cases, they are managed with the least of transparency. they are managed with a list of credibility, and they become contested every now and then. It shouldn't be like that. So our elections have become a source of conflict in our country, including citizens losing lives as a consequence of the mismanagement in the electoral process. And certainly, as a civilized society, we need to heal this problem. And one of the ways of healing it is through dialogue. We have seen in our country, if you like, a breakdown in the rule of law. The legal process, the judicial process takes double standards. Some citizens are treated like they're above the law. If you belong to PF, the party in office today, you can get away with heinous crimes, whereas others outside of the PF, especially those of us in the true opposition, even though the criminal justice system indicates that every citizen is innocent until proven guilty. In our case, generally, we are treated as though we are guilty until we are proven innocent. And that's why you have a lot of our people detained before or without any investigation of any kind. And this has been a source of conflict as well. And we need to deal with it. I think the dialogue is a critical process, therefore, to normalize such situations. We have seen conflicts in our country arising from just the sheer violence and brutality, where again, PF cadres can brutalize any citizen, including the police, and get away with it. This is unacceptable. We have seen basically the lack of respect for human rights, liberties and freedoms in our country. This too has had its own share of, if you like, conflict. We, for example, today cannot freely assemble. When I say we, I mean the UPND and others who are true opposition. I'm not talking about surrogates of PF as opposition members. Freedom of movement is constrained. Freedom of conscience is constrained. Freedom of worship, many have not paid attention, but that too is constrained. Because you will see the government not allowing certain religious, colleagues from different parts of Africa and the world enter the country, except a few. But the Constitution enshrines the freedom of worship. And it's up to the citizen to decide which church, which preacher they want to listen to. But today the PF government chooses which preacher comes in the country, which preacher does not come. Where are the international conventions to which Zambia is a signatory? And I'll talk about that very briefly. I don't want to waste your time today. Listeners, we're very grateful you have been able to tune in. And thank you to Hot FM and other media organizations that are here. We have seen a situation where citizens of the region, citizens of the world, are deported at the airport unceremoniously, as long as they don't appear to be parroting the PF language. Many of you remember that when I was in detention, the leader of opposition in South Africa, Mmusi Maimane, wanted to visit us. He was deported unceremoniously at the airport. A few days ago, the Socialist Party had its own meeting, and some journalists, members of the media, and certain citizens of the world, the global world, our world, were denied entry in our country. All of these things are sowing seeds of conflict in our country. Today, in the civil service, if you belong to a particular or a number of ethnic groups, or geographically you were born by God's choice in certain provinces of our country, you are not allowed to serve in the civil service. As a number of such colleagues have been removed from the civil service, retired in national interest, even 35-year-old doctors are removed from wards, and patients are left without a medical doctor because somebody was born by God's choice in a particular location. You are retired in national interest. You're a teacher, you're a nurse, whatever you are. And this is going on. It's creating disharmony in our societies, in our communities. And many times you'll find that individual is the only breadwinner in the family and is removed, retired in national interest. That is causing conflict. Transfers are effected unwittingly. The husband is a medical doctor, the wife is a nurse, they're in one location. This brutal PF government will transfer the doctor to Isoka and transfer the wife to Shango. They know that the two are married. That too is causing a lot of conflict and friction in our society. Marriages are breaking down. Children are not being brought up properly. And these are serious issues in our country. Unless one is not a Zambian, one does not live here, may argue with what I'm saying. If you live here, you know what I'm saying is what is obtaining in the country. And I'd like someone to challenge me to say what I'm saying is not true. But it's true. Retirees are not being paid, but money is wasted on fund lenders. Money is wasted on the dollar Lusaka Duo carriage, $900 million stolen. When that contract should cost only to the region of $400 million, that road is costing $1.3 million. Sorry, $1.3 billion. Thank you, sir. It means the country is losing $900 million to corruption, to theft, by a small clique of those people who Zambians thought they would put to represent. We've seen constitutional breaches. And that's why we have an impeachment motion. It's a more civilized way of reacting. To check those in government, to check their excesses. We have today in our country something we had forgotten, which was only reminiscent of the colonial independence struggle. Political refugees. Yes, we used to export for many years economic refugees. Those who were seeking today we're political refugees. And I know I have facts with what I'm saying. Today, returning to corruption, we've never seen the levels of corruption like we see today in our country. Colossal sums are missing, are taken away. Debt is acquired, money is not invested in productive sector, it is stolen by those that are occupying public office. Are you surprised that in 2011, PF inherited a debt position of just about $2 billion? And I informed many Zambians 4 years ago that this government has no capacity to run our country. This government of the PF has no ability, no vision, absolutely none. And they were going to damage the country. Are you surprised today we are sitting on a dead pile, a dead mountain of, now it's not even a matter of argument. I did mention this to the country a long time ago. We're sitting on a dead mountain of between $20 billion to $25 billion. You are sitting on a dead mountain of that magnitude when PF in 2011 inherited a minute debt of just around $2 billion following the HIPIC debt relief. What country can you run with that scenario? I want to ask somebody in the audience here, are you aware of what your size of economy is? Do you know what your GDP is? Somewhere around $23, $24 billion only. If your debt is $25 billion, every inch of what you think you own has been indebted by PF. Even your personal home, as you see, this house here is indebted. But yet I, the owner, did not borrow money to build, but PF has borrowed money, and all our assets in our country are now incumbent. In simple language, it means They are all debt-ridden, and someone one day can invoke to recover their debt, and part of your national assets, which is your individual assets, can go. Have you understood what PF has done to your country? Has this country understood what PF has done to your children and your unborn children? When I talked about a huge debt, I was called names as usual. Today, you have seen what's going on for yourselves. And that's why they are taxing bohos. That's why they are taxing rentals. That's why they will tax marriages. That's why they are taxing anything. You move from one place to another, you are taxed several times. Lusaka to Ndola, you are taxed through road tolls. They are raising money from you, having basically borrowed this money and stolen it and wasted it. If we talk, we must be beaten, we must be killed. I have laid the basis for conflict in our society. All of these issues I've raised are causing conflict in our community. This conflict will spill over, if not managed, to the neighboring countries, into the world. That's how life is today. Nobody lives as an island. In order to deal with these sources of conflict, it is clear that dialogue is essential, because that's what will help us resolve these challenges that are consistently creating conflict in our community. And as a consequence, people are brutalized, they are beaten in the markets, they are arrested, they are arraigned. Kamwili couldn't be allowed bond even when he was sick. Nebas Mumba cannot be allowed bail, although he's entitled to bail. You've seen what's been happening in the last 10 days, 15 days around this country. What was done to some of us in this location on the 10th of April is happening now to people, even who were in PF. So no one is safe. Not you journalists, because a dictator has no friend. The only friend he has is himself, and the second one he has as a friend is his shadow. Only his shadow. That's the only two people that are safe. Himself, if you call a shadow a person, and the shadow. No one is safe. So I am saying to the people of Zambia, we need a dialogue like yesteryear. We could have prevented a lot of things that have happened in this country if we had engaged ourselves in civilized ways of resolving our conflict. Like the UPND does. When we felt that our election was stolen, we did not go in the streets. We went to court. We petitioned. Our petition was never heard. How can you resolve conflict if you don't allow to hear even the complaints people have? You use force because you have keys to the armory. You brutalize people. You tear gas people. Today, as we are talking, we are arranging to have one young man who was shot at the High Court during our petition, Constitutional Court grounds, High Court grounds, to have his bullet removed from his pelvic bones. We were hoping that the doctors were saying that the bullet is located in a wrong, difficult place, he could die. But now his condition is deteriorating. We have to risk and get him operating on, and we're working on that. This is a consequence of a brutal government that could not follow a civilized route through a petition, presidential petition. I want Zambians to understand the consequences of what this government is doing on our ordinary lives, on our children who are not in school, on our children who cannot get jobs, on marketeers who cannot have income to feed their children. Hence they die out of cholera and they die out of hunger. It's all of that is caused by PF, lack of leadership and brutality. We wouldn't have had that young man having a bullet in his body today. This is what we would like the citizens to understand is going on in our country. Petition was never heard. Constitution was breached. Articles 104. The Speaker should have acted as president during the petition period. Did he act? He didn't. That's why we're moving impeachment motion. Again, another civilized process by the UPN. Not through the streets, not through guns, not through tear gas, but through a civilized process. What is PF's response? More tear gas, more detentions, more Kambwili thrown in even when you are ill. Kambwili could have died in prison, in police cells. What crisis were we going to have as a country? Why can't we prevent these issues? And most of you live ordinary lives thinking everything is normal until it catches up with you. That's when you remember Akainde. You remember GBM that day. You remember Tavares that day. You remember Wimbu that he went to law school. Maybe he can save you. Those of us who were in those situations and we were sitting between a floor of a cell and having our neck cut in Mkoveko, you understand the importance of people outside prison when you are in prison. We who are outside the prison must create conditions that don't allow you to go to prison for a crime you did not commit. That's what I'm talking about. All of these issues must be issues for the dialogue. And that's the essence of today's conversation. Mr. Lungu announces that the dialogue must continue, but no foreign power must lead the dialogue process. No foreign power. He also announces that only ZCID should lead the dialogue process. And I want to deal with these two issues in this way, very briefly. The issue of sovereignty in leading the dialogue process. Let's deal with this a little bit. So, Commonwealth is not a foreign power. Commonwealth is not a country, Mr. Lungu. Commonwealth is a multilateral organization which was set up by a League of Nations whose history is connected to the British Empire. Commonwealth is a multilateral organization whose creation is a number of countries who share similar laws, who share similar cultures, certain cultures, who share similar educational systems. That's why many of us were able to graduate from University of Zambia as villagers, and straight we went to British University to do our masters. You could only be accepted to do your masters if your undergraduate syllabus qualifies to undertake a master's studies in the UK. Most of you don't understand that. Similar language and other values, rule of law, respect for human rights, liberties and freedoms, that we must develop our countries. These are the values under which a number of countries came together to sign a charter to form the Commonwealth. So which country is the Commonwealth, if I may ask Mr. Lungu? Maybe in his mind, I don't know what state of mind he was. I don't know. I can't vouch for him. Maybe he mistook the Commonwealth to be a country. Because you can only be defined as a foreign power if you are a country. So the Commonwealth is our own creation. We are signatories to the Commonwealth. So there is no argument that the Commonwealth is a foreign power, Mr. Lungu, sir. I suspect, looking at that statement, he rarely issues statements like that. Someone wrote that statement for him. I suspect he did not read it before he went to the Bible. So I have made an argument that we are members of the Commonwealth as we are members of SADC, Southern African Development Community, as we are members of the African Union, AU, as we are members of the United Nations. We are members of the League of Nations, civilized nations, anchored on the rule of law. So, absolutely, it is clear, if Mr. Lungu argues that the Commonwealth is a foreign power, then he is telling us that he does not believe in SADC. That's what he's telling us. He does not believe in SADC. He does not believe in the African Union. He does not believe in the United Nations. All of which bodies were signatories, and we contribute money as a country every year, or whatever period is designated for us to contribute. And these organizations work for us, and they work for other member countries. So, inversely, I could argue that he has in his mind decided to take out Zambia, to withdraw Zambia from SADC, from COMESA, from African Union, from Commonwealth, from the United Nations. Why don't you just announce and tell us you want to withdraw Zambia from these bodies? Then we can debate that as citizens. I also want to ask him, why is he globetrotting? He went to the UN meetings and spent 17 million kwacha one trip of our money. $1.7 to $2 million, one trip. If you don't believe in the UN, Mr. Lungu, can you bring back our money that we spent? If you don't believe in the multilateral and bilateral institutions, why are you approaching the IMF to borrow money? Since you don't believe in the efficacy of these organizations. So, Mufuna Chani, why Mufuna 1 billion, 1.3 billion from the IMF? Why? Since IMF is a foreign power. Why are you the deputy chairman of the SADC organ for defense and security? Very strange. Why would anybody make Mr. Lungu? So I ask a humble question, sir. Why are you, did you accept to be deputy chairman of the organ in SADC on defense and security? You don't believe in SADC. Why? This is serious. Why are you attending the Great Lakes region meetings? Why? It's serious. I know people are finding it as a joke. It's not a joke. Why did you sell Natural Resources Development College to AVIC? Isn't AVIC then representing a foreign power? Why are you selling land to foreigners, since you call them foreign powers? Why are you collecting loans amounting to, since you came into office as a party, over $18 billion? Where are you getting those loans? Foreign powers. So when you want loans so that you can steal money through roads and fire tenders and fertilizer, they are not foreign powers. When the country needs them to help us resolve our conflicts, which I've outlined, we don't want foreign powers. You must say you don't want foreign powers. 17 million minus 1 Zambians want those people to help us end conflict. The 17 million minus 1 is 17 million minus himself. So who is the majority? It's the rest of the people. You can say 17 million minus 500. Him, Kaiser Zulu, and all these clowns who are enjoying stolen money. I'm serious about it. These charters existed before Lungu took that office. They will be there when he leaves office. We want to find them and even use them properly to help grow our economy and manage conflict. It's not what to do. I think we've made that point about the issue of foreign power. Commonwealth is not a foreign power. By the way, there is a history. under his heavy-handedness, Mr. Lungu's heavy-handedness, brutality, and arrests, some institutions were not there, they were quiet. The Commonwealth came on board. Churches led by the Catholics came on board. So we can say the Catholics, CCZ, and parts of EFZ who are not Christian for Lungu came on board. So internal organizations, external organizations, including members of the West African Economic Community, ECOWAS, came to our rescue. The institution is pushing now to manage the ZCIDs, to manage the dialogue. We're not there. They were actually issuing statements against citizens. I think we've argued that point. I hope today Mr. Lungu and those who wrote that speech for him have learned something. By the way, the person he was hosting, and I will tell to that very briefly. That day when he issued that statement, is a member of the League of Nations through the United Nations. And that's the person he was hosting. That's the person who excited him to say things he said. I will turn to that just in a moment. I think we've laid the basis. Conflict is there. We need to dialogue to resolve conflicts, number 2. Number 3, Commonwealth is not a foreign power. I think we've dealt with that effectively. Now, let me deal with the 5th issue. Is it abnormal for Commonwealth to be involved in conflict resolution? The answer is no. That's why partially Commonwealth was created. That's why SADC was created. That's why the UN was created. To take the country out of the First, Second World War scenarios where Hitler thought he was superior and could go and kill everybody else so that he can have a pure Germanness. The League of Nations got together to fight Hitler, and after the Second World War, they realized it was important to create these bodies that will help in conflict resolution. Obviously, if countries can solve their own conflict internally, they should do that. If they can't, they should invoke any other processes. And that's why this process was invoked, because everybody was afraid of Lungu. Citizens were in hiding. People were not sleeping in their homes. It took the courageous Catholic Church. And I want to give credit to the Catholic Church. Whatever we think, whatever our church is, I'm Adventist myself, but I want to give credit to the Catholic Church. They provided the leadership domestically, but internationally it was other bodies. So is it abnormal for other bodies to be involved? No, this is normal. Let me remind you, historically, Zambia was a host headquarters for the African National Congress. Some people have forgotten, during the anti-apartheid struggle. Why was Zambia hosting the African National Congress here? Most of you forget that President Mbeki lived here. Most of you forget that. Why did Zambia host Zapu Zanu? Joshua Nkomo lived here. For some of you have conveniently forgotten history. Remember what Lungu said. We don't want foreign powers. We don't want any involvement of other people. Before you, Mr. Lungu, why did President Kaunda host ANC here? Why did he host freedom fighters in the region? The current president of Namibia, President Hage Geingob, was director of the Institute for Namibia at Unza here, when I was a student myself. What was Hage Geingob doing here? What was Robert Mugabe, who is the grandfather to Lungu, what was he doing here lecturing at Chalimbana? Please, I want to rejiggle your memory. You have people in leadership who choose to know nothing, or they truly know nothing. What was President Mugabe doing lecturing at Chalimbana College? Here in Chongo. Mungusolo Mugabe. Why which township? Many of you have forgotten that Joshua Nkomo's house was bombed near State House. You forgot?
No.
Most of you have forgotten that. Magoya Bridge was bombed. Chikumbi was bombed. Most of you have forgotten. This issue of having a young generation that we're not reminding the facts of. Why was Zambia host to these liberation struggles? Because Zambia was playing its role. At that point, if Lungu was the president, he could have said, no, let the ANC be killed by the apartheid regime. Let Mugabe be killed by the British. Let Hage Geingob not lecture or be director of the Institute for Namibia at Unza here. Lusaka campus, where I was a student. I used to see Hage Geingob there. I'm sure you couldn't remember me. I was a little tiny toddler that time. I am reinforcing to you that what the Commonwealth is doing is not abnormal. It's very normal. What was President Chiluba doing when he hosted the peace talks, Angolan peace talks, conflict between MPLA and UNITA in Lusaka here? What was President Chiluba doing? He was exercising his duty as a member of the League of Civilized Nations. Right? What was President Kaunda doing when he was meeting with John Vorster? You remember the famous meeting on the rail line in Livingstone? What were they doing? Because Kaunda understood the duties. Although he was president of Zambia, he understood his obligation went beyond the boundaries of Zambia. So, in West Africa, a region which is riddled with conflict more than us for a long time, is now stabilizing more than us. Why? Because there's a strong leadership of the ECOWAS, Economic Community for West African States. They've been able to resolve conflicts in Burkina Faso, working on it, in Mali, working on it. They were able to assist Ghana have free fair elections. They were able to intervene in Ivory Coast. Today, Alassane Ouattara, president of Ivory Coast, would have been dead. If Laurent Gbagbo, a dictator in Ivory Coast that time, was allowed to annul the elections, as he had done, if ECOWAS did not move in. So, according to Lungu, ECOWAS should have never moved in to assist Alassane Ouattara. And today, Alassane Ouattara would have been in the history books as a president who won an election, opposition, and was killed by a sitting president. Gambia. Adam Barrow wouldn't be president of Gambia today because the dictator there had announced the election. I'm drawing a parallel so people can understand what's going on. ECOWAS intervened in Gambia, and today Barrow is the president. And the one who lost an election and refused to leave, refused to hand over, as we have experienced in our own country several times, because there is no active involvement of regional bodies like SADC. You have brutality in our country. We can save lives by involving others because we are members of the League of Nations, civilized League of Nations. We are aware that when the Zimbabweans took a step, it's normal. Let me return very briefly to ZCID. ZCID. What is ZCID? Zambia Center for Interparty Dialogue. Mr. Lungu is setting conditions for the dialogue. One, I've already dealt with, that foreign powers must not be involved. I think we've articulated that. The second condition now is given. He has dropped his usual number one condition, recognition. Because he will never get it from him. He will never get it from him. I couldn't give it to him when he had matches like my neck in Mukobela. He sent emissaries there that tell the HH to recognize me and you'll be out of prison. I said I'll die here. Zambians must learn to do the correct things. So he has dropped that one. I think it was proper advice that this one, you can't move it.
Yeah.
Yes. So now he says foreign power, no. Then he says ZCID must lead it. Who is ZCID? Zambia Center for Interfaith Dialogue. What is that? UPND is a member of that moribund organization.
Yes.
ZCID, everybody knows is moribund. It's got no efficacy. It has failed to resolve conflicts. And that's why people are in prison today. That's why there's ethnic cleansing through removing civil servants from certain regions. And Zambians are watching. Your own families are being dismantled, you're watching. Where was ZCID? Where was it? Who is ZCID? Maybe Mr. Lungu knows some capacity we don't know in the ZCID. Maybe he knows. I'm beginning to think, is it because he wants to use ZCID so that he can sneak in a leader of the dialogue from a group of Christians calling themselves Christians for Lungu? Is it what he's looking for? What is he looking for? We challenge him to give us the names of people in ZCID he wants to lead the dialogue process. Who does he want to lead the dialogue process? Who? Let's talk names now. Honestly speaking, let's be serious. If you occupy that office, whether fraudulently or not, if you happen to be there, it's a rare privilege. You happen to be in the presidency to serve the country with distinction, with diligence, with prudence. I wish I knew diligence in them and in Nyanja. But in my language, you know, but our colleague is failing to do that. He's failing to take the opportunity because he's now insisting on matters that are non-issues at all. The dialogue can only take place with the foreign powers, with ZCID. These are miniature issues. They are non-issues at all. I think he wants to continue enjoying brutalizing citizens because he knows if the dialogue is effectively managed, there will be no more violence in this country. At least there will be minimum, which the police can handle normally. He knows that there will be an independent electoral commission, so you will have no opportunity to steal an election. That's what's concerning him. He knows that he will not be arresting people as he wishes. He knows that ethnic cleansing, which he's practicing, will not be allowed. He knows that the Public Order Act will not be taken away our constitutional right to freedoms of assembly, association, movement, and worship. He knows that. So he understands the outcome of a genuine dialogue process, and that's what he's afraid of. That's why he's placing these peripheral miniature conditions. My friend, that office is a serious office. My friend, that office requires soberness. My friend, that office requires fairness in a country, equity. You can't treat certain citizens like they're second rate in their own country. That's the way he's treating us, like we're second rate in our own country. And I can assure you, this will backfire. And that's why I told people, do not sit and watch when these things are happening. First, he was removing people from Northwestern, from the civil service, from Western, from Southern, from Lusaka Rural, from Central, from Copperbelt Rural. Now, he has started removing people from Northern Muchinga. The only people who are still surviving are from Luapula and Eastern. But how can you run a country? When I started talking, those from Northern and Muchinga thought they were safe. Today is going for them. He has been called suckers ambassadors. He has been called the ambassadors from these regions that Mr. Sata, President Sata, may so rest in peace, left. He's replacing them now with unique people from Eastern and Northern and Luapula. You can't run a country like that. You're injuring community. He forgets that people are intermarried. He forgets. He forgets that people like me here, my wife has an extraction of Lenje, Sala, Sori, and Lamba. He forgets. So, my child who is in this house, one arm according to Lungu is Soli, the other arm is Lenje, one leg is Lamba, one leg is Tonga, according to Lungu. That's how he understands this country. That's abusing that important office. ZCID will be a member of the process. They will participate. I understand through the planning, the steering committee will include members of the church mother bodies, Catholics, CCZ, EFZ. Hopefully there will be no Christians for Lungu in those groups. There's only Christians for Jesus and God. First time I've heard that they're Christians for an individual who is on earth. We're all Christians for the three in one. Yes. God the Father, the Son, Jesus Christ, and the Mutagatifu. That's That's what we know. Honestly speaking. Patrick. Savior. Amen. Unaona kwa ati muntu ni Christian wa Lungu. Unaona? So Lungu is now close to his God, replacing God. That's Let me be serious. Let me move away from that line now. This is a serious office that colleague is running. You can't divide the country the way he has done since 2015. He's divided this country beyond recognition. No one can get a job today. Children who are supposed to be in school are not in school. You can't get business. I'm telling you, I'm a businessman. There's a liquidity squeeze. There's a credit crunch. There's a debt crunch. There's no economy you're sitting on. And I told people, they didn't believe me. I was telling him, I said, tell them, watch this fella. And I defined what will happen. That's exactly what's happening now.
And I've proved you right, Mr. President.
So, let me say the dialogue must get on. The impeachment motion, and I know one of you will ask me a question, the impeachment motion itself is a civilized way of bringing to the table the constitutional breaches that will require the dialogue to resolve. Because we went to court, the petition was not allowed. We now go in parliament, and he's trying to stop the impeachment motion, yet it qualifies constitutionally, it is procedurally correct, and he doesn't want it tabled. And I want to ask the members of parliament, to start with UPND. I hear some of you are getting afraid because you say you may be killed. Nobody will kill you. For us cattlemen, the cattle that get eaten by a lion or a hyena is the one that is a weak cow, the one that is running away from the group. That's the one that gets eaten. Stay in the group. Be strong. People are being killed. Someone threatens you will be killed, and you start running away. Where will you hide? You are doing the right thing. You have already won the favor and the respect of many Zambians. Stick with the impeachment motion. Leader of the House. No one succeeds through fear in the world. When you say that man in generic terms, woman, man are man. Even the Bible is clear. Because man and woman are one. Adam from his rib, Eve, they're one. My message is clear. Can we remain strong there? Very, very strong. Let's remain strong. Thank you. Let's not waver. Let's not encourage those MPs from PF who are willing to vote with us. By us members of parliament that are getting wicked, you will be a sellout to the people of Zambia. You won't be a sellout to me. You'll be a sellout to the people of Zambia.
Yes.
What are you afraid of? Me, I was in Mugoveko, and I said no to recognizing someone. I knew what separated me saying I recognize you and not death.
Yes.
What is that you're fearing? You only fear if you think you've committed a crime. If you've eaten PF money, maybe you will fear. Ngatsuna tendala mazamu. Kai ngatunavya uyo pati mazamu. Honestly speaking, let's be serious. It's a serious matter. That impeachment motion shows the constitutional breaches. That impeachment motion shows clear articles. 90, 198, breached, 104, so many articles. So why would a genuine member of parliament who chose to represent people who are downtrodden fear when you have PF members who are supporting them, as long as we get a secret ballot? So I'm asking you to work on a secret ballot. Start now. They can run, but they can't hide on the impeachment motion. And that's what civility is. But if we had dialogue before 3 weeks ago, maybe there would have been no impeachment motion, because we would have found a way forward on this. So impeachment and dialogue are not separate, they're one and the same. They're the most civilized ways of dealing with the matter. I think we're very clear on that. I wanted to comment on one small thing before my time on air runs out. And I want to ask our radio stations if you can allow a few questions also aired so that citizens who are listening can hear the questions and the answers. So I'll be very brief. Earlier I touched on a matter that when Mr. Lungu was talking about foreign powers, he was hosting Janet Logan. Janet Logan is a UN representative in our country. What is UN? Is it not, according to Lungu, a foreign power? So how come he was hosting a member of the UN representing UN in this country and demeaning foreign powers when one of them was being hosted by him? Can you see the paradox there? Our message is that we are aware of Janet Logan's maneuvers. We're very much aware. We've been very much aware for a long time of Janet Logan's maneuvers. Working with the Electoral Commission to manipulate voter registration, to manipulate ballot paper printing in Dubai, Janet Logan was involved in that. We are aware. We are aware that Janet Logan is fraternizing with ministers of the PF almost on a daily, weekly basis. We are aware that Janet Logan is hosting the ZCID, encouraging the ZCID to say, you take the lead, so that she can participate in the manipulation of the dialogue process, as she participated in the manipulation of the elections in our country. Unlike PF, we did not start shouting at Logan. And Deputy Secretary General, I would like us, through you, to make an appointment. I want to meet Janet Logan. I have been watching her. I've been monitoring her. After the elections, 2016 fraud elections, which everybody knows was fraud, which partially triggered the conflicts in addition to other matters in our country. Soon after the 2016 election, Janet herself, Logan herself, under our organization, the UN, instituted a study with the ECZ, right, called the Conflict Structure Vulnerability Assessment, in short SVA. This study produced empirical evidence that Zambia was deeply divided and needed healing. In that report, she has not released the results even now, because she doesn't like the contents of that report. Because the contents are confirming that there's conflict, the elections were not managed properly, right? I challenge her to release that report. Yes. I challenge her. We would want that report released. That report also included a comment on the inadequacy of institutions in Zambia to help manage conflict, because most of the institutions have been compromised. Parliament is compromised, right? Yes. Certain members of the judiciary are compromised. Those 3 judges in the Constitutional Court who ruled against themselves over the weekend that the petition must not be heard. This report recognizes the weaknesses of domestic institutions and understands the need for us as a country to help build capacity in domestic institutions, including, in my view, ZCID, so that in future they can manage conflicts better. And that's why we need the support of the Commonwealth. A lot of things that we are conflicting about are purely based on someone ignoring the law. Why would you breach Article 104, whereby when a petition is submitted, the powers must move to the Speaker of the National Assembly to allow for 2 things. 1, a fair adjudication of the petition. And you see how the petition was compromised by Lungu sitting in the executive office. Because if he wasn't sitting in the executive office, our petition would have been held in accordance to Article 104. Can you see the connection? Yes. The second reason is that the President enjoys immunity in the Constitution. And to circumvent that immunity, it means you can't sue a president who is sitting. That's why the Article 104 requires the president to step aside. Then you can circumvent the immunity clauses. Even if we had won that immunity, that petition, Lungu would have turned around and said, you were wrong to sue me because I enjoy immunity. That's why Article 104 was put in place. And this guy breaches that article. And we go to Parliament to impeach him. Even on one article, he blocks that process. So what does he want us to do? So Janet, Logan, Patrick, I would like to meet her as early as possible. I won't say much here. I will say it to her in her face. Yeah. I believe that we have dealt with a matter of conflicts in our society which require dialogue, and dialogue is critical. We should not place preconditions. We are not placing conditions ourselves as UPND. Anything that we are concerned about should come to the dialogue table. How can anyone serious and occupy the president say, unless ZCID leads it? He doesn't even understand what sits in ZCID. What animal is ZCID? Does he understand what is going on in his own country? Where was ZCID when people are being brutalized, killed? Where was ZCID? It's like asking the Human Rights Commission of Zambia to help you with the dialogue. What dialogue can they help you with? They have no capacity. Well intended, I know my good friend, Matford Mandela, is trying very hard. But structurally, that institution cannot help you, although they would like to help you. And it's not Mandela's fault as the leader. It is the structure, the institution that Lungu has broken. So, we have argued our point that Commonwealth is not a foreign power. We have argued our point that institutions in the League of Nations have been there. That's why the UN was set up. That's why the UN are in the Cambodia, Palestine. That's why everybody is trying to find a solution up in Syria. And Congo next door. Was he not meeting Kabila here recently? What were they talking about Kabila, with Kabila? What were they discussing with Kabila? What did he go to Rwanda to do? This man is a joke, honestly speaking. This man is a joke. He's an absolute joke. I know most of you are afraid if I say that. I mean it. He's an absolute joke. Right? You cannot run a country like this. We've demonstrated that it is right for the Commonwealth to help us. Because one of the things we lack is compliance. Because he refuses to respect the law. So who will make him comply? Without international and regional bodies. We expect SADC to help. We expect African Union to help. Commonwealth, and UN. And we've discussed the issue of ZCI and Janet Logan. I have very few things to say about Janet Logan. Patrick, please, I want to meet Janet Logan. I think it's fair that I end here. I'm getting a signal that our live transmission may be challenged. I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. President, at this point in time, very quickly, the President is ready to take some questions from the journalists who are present here. And as usual, indicate your name and where you're coming from. Can I take the first three questions? Yes, Mama.
My name is Pamela Mlenda from CBC.
Sorry?
Pamela Mlenda from CBC. Mr. President, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I just want to seek clarity on the Commonwealth proposed strategy.
Yes.
On the first layer, which says that you must have initial confidence meeting with the President before President Mungu, before you go to other layers where you discuss the electoral reforms, the constitutional reforms. Have you dropped this one, or do we see it coming? And the second one, if I be allowed, is on the economic front. With the misapplication of funds in our country, we report that the Quantum Group, based in Swaziland, has ranked Zambia as the 8th best performing economy, and as well as the third as well. So with the misappropriation of funds, is this justified? I would need to understand, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. My friend there.
Good morning, Mr. President. My name is Logic Lukwanda from Hot FM Radio.
Sorry?
Logic Lukwanda, Hot FM. Yes, I wanted to get your decisive response on the UN resident representative to Zambia. You're saying she has been involved in the manipulation of the elections. What would you think would be her interest or the UN's interest in getting involved in such a very serious arrangement?
Third question? Yes, Oliver.
I'm Oliver Singer from the Mass newspaper. As we are talking about Zambia's face to the international community, I wanted you to comment on the expulsion of the Cuban ambassador for merely attending a launch of the Socialist Party. And secondly, the branch, I also want you to comment on the coming of the Socialist Party. It has come with mixed feelings. What is your comment?
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, panel. Strategy, Commonwealth, which wants meeting as the first layer between Mr. Lungu and the HH. Right. Look, I think what is not really the common. What is the dialogue process is concerned is that there is this accusation and counter-accusation that no, UPN is not interested in the dialogue. No, PF is not interested in the dialogue. What some of us suggested was that let's have a communique which is signed, drafted and signed publicly, that we in the UPND as a team, as members, as those who support us are committed to dialogue without conditions. So that any condition you have, bring it to the table. And that's part of the dialogue item. The intention is to take out this accusation and counter-accusation, like what our colleague did in status by calling Janet there and use that opportunity. I wouldn't even be surprised that Janet may have been involved in drafting that statement. Right? Creating one suspicion that we are arguing that we are interested, we are not interested. The country is in conflict. The country is bleeding. People are in prison. People have lost jobs on ethnic grounds. It's not a joke. He also commented, Mr. Lungu commented there that there is no crisis in the country. You know, it's laughable. Why did he declare a certain state of emergency if there was no crisis? Why were people being brutalized in homes and picked and beaten and locked up? Why were people shot? Extrajudicial killing. The police have been killing people, citizens in this country. Why are people on the run if there is no problem in this country? Why would people contract diseases in there? I know. Most of you have no idea what prisons are. I actually thank God that I was sent to prison for a crime I did not commit. I now understand what we need to do to solve the problems of people in those yes. Why is Pilato not in the camp? You know, those of you who read the Bible, you must know that Joseph was sold by his own brothers. But it all started as a hatred against Joseph by his own brothers. They didn't know they were selling him to allow him to be put in a position where he can help the world. I'm glad I was able to see that there are people in prison for 10 years that have never seen the doors of a coffin. That's wrong. So, why are we having a country like this? The idea, my sister, is that we should stop the blame game. Let's get on with the dialogue process. Let's sign a communique public to say we are all ready for dialogue and let the dialogue start. Let's not set the conditions of a foreigner. We don't want a foreigner. We don't want anyone else other than ZCID. When ZCID is empty, it's closed now, you open that tin to check what is in there, it's empty. There's nothing in the ZCID. So the idea of that structure, in my view, a dialogue. Really, that's what I think is the reason. But I won't debate more than what I've said because I have my own personal views as well. You can't have secret meetings because if you have secret meetings, it's telling lies. We must have meetings where the nation knows what we are meeting about. What are the issues we're discussing? I do not agree with secret meetings myself because the issue of trust comes in. Let the Zambians know that there's a meeting and we're meeting over issues that are causing conflict in our country. And public, in an issue, a statement is issued, jointly signed, then we can have a meeting. Whether we start up or down or sideways, the only thing I won't do is to do not reverse. I won't do that. That I will not do because even the Bible is clear. When the children of Israel were moving from, the Egyptians came by the body mass of water. They complained to Moses, no, tell your God, see now, Pharaoh is going to kill us, his soldiers are coming. So Moses went to pray to God and God said, tell the children of Israel just to move forward. Just move forward. So I think I shouldn't say more. Quantum Group has ranked Zambia as one of the best performing economies. I come from that profession, madam. Your economy is broken. Who is this Quantum? I may have respect for them, but I disagree with them. There are no jobs in this country. There's no money in their homes. Every home has less money than they had 5 years ago. That's how you assess the economy. Children are not in school. There are no business opportunities. A widow is renting one little house to earn money for food. The government takes away your 10% of your money. Which economy is functioning? My sister, here is one equation for the economy. Y minus C is equals to S is equals to I. Y is income minus consumption costs is C. If you have income, you consume some, you are left with change is S savings. When you have savings, you can have investments. When you have investments, you can grow the economy. When you grow the economy, you can create jobs. You can create business opportunity. You can pay for the sick in hospitals. There is little income now. Every income you earn is consumed. You're actually in debt. you have no savings, you have no investment. This is the Zambian economy. I can describe it by one equation. That's why you are borrowing. If you had a strong economy, you will have manageable debt. So I don't want to spend time. I wish I would talk to you. Can we talk to our colleagues, get more information on this quantum? We can engage quantum. Maybe we can exchange views with them. They will learn a few things from us. We're on the ground. We understand this economy. We've been doing business for 35 years in this economy from childhood. We understand it. There's no growth here. Even if you are a landlord, your houses are empty. Right? If you sell meat like me, the sales are 40% down. Because there's no money. There's a liquidity crunch. There's a credit crunch. You are owed money. You don't pay who you owe. There's no money. Chikwanda, UN has been involved in manipulation. So what would be their interest? A very good question. That's what I want to ask Janet. What is your interest, Janet? Are you here to save PF? Since you are fraternizing with PF every day, or you are here to represent all of us, since you are our worker. Janet works for all of us. Janet Logan works for all of us. But unlike Mr. Longo, we will not say we want Janet to go. We want to talk to her. We want to ask her that question. Janet Logan, what is your interest? Who are you serving? Yes. How come you were sitting there when the Commonwealth was being roasted? So what were you doing? How different are you from the Commonwealth? How different are you from the AU? So it means she has special interests which are personal. We will hear her answers to our questions. Then we will answer your question. I'm intrigued to hear her answers to our question. I'll take your question to her when I meet her. By the way, I have already challenged Janet. It's not just her. Janet Logan and the deputy Mike Soko. This is the team there doing a lot of skullduggery in the UN here. We're watching. Janet Logan, Mike Soko. I also said, can they release the 2016 conflict structural vulnerability assessment results? When you see that report, my friend, you will see that it's saying the things that we're talking about which the dialogue can resolve. Rule of law, institutional incapacity. So, I'm very grateful to you for helping me improve my questions to her. Mass expulsion of Cuban ambassador. My dear friend, I have already commented on that. You carried the story in your mass today, very, very well articulated. If you read the mass today, I've commented further, because earlier Bamuzungo, our chairman of international relations, commented on the deportation of the Cuban ambassador. And then yesterday I was interviewed, I gave an illustrative, a very elaborate illustrative example. That is wrong. It shows the brutal ways of Mr. Lungu, which I've been talking about, and Zambians have been ignoring. He's brutalizing citizens of Zambia. He's now brutalizing citizens of the world. How can you act like that? I have also said that in 2011, July, around June, July, PF had their convention in Chicago, and they invited Ambassador Max Torella, ambassador of the US, who attended that convention and spoke there. And the MMD government did not expel Torella. In this house here, where we are sitting, I host meetings of ambassadors and high commissioners. I go to the ambassadors' houses, I go to their offices, I go to their cocktail parties. Why are they not being deported? Why is the Cuban ambassador deported? If PF were a goose, I would ask these PF goose to do to the gander what it wants the gander to do to it. You cannot be inequitous in this matter. And that simply shows you that a brutal guy respects nobody. Remember I said he only respects himself and his shadow. Yes. After killing us, locking us up, brutalizing us, removing them from us from civil service, he is now brutalizing the Cuban embassy. And then Managat, not Managat, I beg your pardon, Dora Silla was saying, no, it's only this ambassador we don't like. We like the Cubans. Ah, I call him, man. I call him. That's lack of understanding. He is here to represent the Cuban people and to save the Zambian people, not just those in PF, but even other citizens, including us. I was on my way to having a meeting with the Cuban ambassador. So Mr. Lungu has taken away my time to meet him. Why? Because of brutality. So I think my answer was given deeply in an article in your newspaper, sir. I can only encourage people to look at that article briefly. That's what I've said. Yeah, I was coming to that. Constitution, what does the Constitution say? Multi-party democracy, which Mr. Lungu doesn't understand. Up to now, I can tell you that from his actions, he doesn't understand that. The Constitution allows for that. That's why PF exists. That's why UPND exists. Why shouldn't Socialist Party exist? First point. Constitution, multi-party, parties can be registered, we follow procedures. They should register Calaba's Party, they should register your party, sir. They should register anybody's party. It is their duty, it's not a favor. So, the second point is that Socialist Party is welcome. It's a tough business. Opposition politics is a tough business. I wish them well. They're welcome from us as UPND, they're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our colleagues from the media, please to have any burning questions. Okay, I see your hands went up. Can we get another set of questions?
And maybe one person, one question.
Yeah, one question.
There's three questions, but there were 6 questions.
We've been guided, one person, one question. The second and the last set of questions. Another there? May you please start?
No, just it. Feel free. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, when you started advocating for the dialogue process,
Yes.
to be blocked by the Congo,
Yes.
that got a lot of opportunities and things.
Yes.
And now that it's seemingly we've reached a dead end, as the PF categorically made it outright clear that they're never going to take part in any dialogue blocked by any external force. Now that there's so much tension, divided on the fronts, politically, tribal, otherwise, in many other areas, do Zambian people have any further hope of a better Zambia with the PF government in power, holding on to the instruments of power, now controlling the fact that you can't never do anything if they don't go ahead? So what's going to happen now?
Sure.
Is there any hope?
Sure. Thank you.
My name is Robert Mwanza. I write for AFP News Agency. I'm glad that Mr. Ichilame helped me talk about the issue of dialogue, and that's the reason why I came here. Now,
Just continue.
now that the government, the PF and everyone else in the PF, they don't seem to agree with the roadmap that the Commonwealth had initiated, and you're considering engaging the Commonwealth to say, let's rephrase the terms of reference so as to allow them to preside over the dialogue process. And lastly,
Any other last question? My brother there? Yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Ichilema. My name is
Morning.
Alfred from QFM and QTV.
Yes.
They are caused by other political parties saying you and the Patriotic Front are delaying the dialogue process because it's not just about the UPND and the Patriotic Front. And from the look of things, Patriotic Front wants this process to be spearheaded by the ZCID, and you want it to be spearheaded by the Commonwealth. this conflict isn't it delaying the process further? Because earlier you had indicated that if this dialogue process had taken off earlier, maybe the impeachment process could not have been moved to Parliament. But now that there's this conflict, don't you think you and the Patriotic Front are now delaying the process further, because the dialogue process is not just about you and the Patriotic Front?
Mr. President, thank you very much. Fair question. Any question, I've said this before, my dear friends, any question is welcome. Certainly if it's being pushed to me, I don't mind any question. No question will offend me, not even one. So let's take it that way. Chafila, my friend, HH started advocating dialogue, there was hope. Now, PF are saying no, there's no hope. Is there any more hope? My answer, very candid answer is that there are few people in PF. Mr. Lungu, the Kaiser Zulus, those who are eating. Those who are eating are the ones who are afraid of the dialogue. The majority of citizens, even though they were shouting power to preliminary base, they are regretting now because they are suffering in their homes. Njala Sisanka. So the majority of citizens want a peaceful Zambia, a developing Zambia, a Zambia that creates jobs, a Zambia that creates business opportunities. Not a Zambia where only foreigners get contracts. They want dialogue. Because it's a small clique, my brother, who doesn't want dialogue, who do not want dialogue, they will be overtaken by the majority. That is what my belief is. The people power comes along. It may be delayed, but it comes along. It will come. I'm confident. I can read the signs myself. As I was explaining to my colleague a few years ago, I said, just give this guy 2 years. Watch. You will see that, you will see that, you see that is happening now. So his space is shrunk. And people like him. Because you cannot keep killing people and get away with it. You can't keep stealing elections and get away with it. You can't stop the petitions and get away with it. You can't stop the impeachment and get away with it. People forget, one part state was there, Kumulu, yes. Panshi, that's what people used to say. Yeah, I was a university student there, I said, I don't believe in this change will come, and it came. Today I don't believe in what's going on. You can't stop the people. Mugabe is gone. Zuma is gone. And today Zuma is appearing in court. Thank you, Patrick. Prime Minister of Ethiopia, brutal dictator, is gone. Someone else is going very soon. In the north of our country. I can tell you, Congolese cannot continue living like that. Congolese are dying every day. They can't allow one individual and a few people who are eating to keep killing Congolese. They are our brothers. So someone will go. Next, don't ask me who is next. Someone else and someone else and someone else. Because the people prevail. I think that's the answer. So hope must remain. I've always said to people, we have reason to keep hoping because help is on the way. Keep hoping because help is on the way. If you lose hope, you are dead. I know when I was in prison, most of you thought that's the end of HH. People even started thinking life without HH. But most of you believe that I did not commit a crime. I'm here talking to you. I shouldn't be talking to you, I should be dead. But only God knows it. God is a fair God. He's an equitous God. One, my friend, long time, eh? Please, long time. You okay?
I'm all right.
People are resisting it, talk. So, can we change the terms of reference? Can Commonwealth change the terms of reference? There's no term of reference to be changed. The terms of reference were drawn by Zambians. What drove the terms of reference? Violence, ethnic cleansing, electoral flaws. Was it the Commonwealth that decided to announce Lundazi votes 8,000 which were not there? Is it the Commonwealth? It was the way Judge Chulu managed the Electoral Commission and electoral process in 2015, 2016. 2015, 2016. 2015 there was somebody, 2016. It is that which created the terms of reference. What can the Commonwealth change? As I said, Commonwealth is not a country, it's us. It is us who should draw the terms of reference. What is the terms of reference? The things that are causing us to conflict. Let's put them. So how can we remove a term of reference called need to stop violence? Do we want violence to continue? No. So how can you change that term of reference? That we must find solutions to end violence. We must find solutions to stop someone breaching the Constitution. How can we change that? What will we replace that with? What? How can we continue having no right and freedom of assembly and association? This guy, what is the PF Secretary General? Some Miller, something like that. What's his name? Davis Miller. He's going all over. We are not allowed to go. How can the country continue like that? So, it is difficult. The terms of reference were drawn by the negative conditions in our country. That's what informs the terms of reference. What will the Commonwealth change? Nothing. The issue is not about terms of reference. It is about someone refusing to talk so that he can continue killing people, so that he can continue stealing elections, so that he can continue locking up Kamwiri without bail, so he can continue denying Nevers Mumba bail, so he can continue brutalizing journalists, so he can continue the corruption. That is the concern here. We are talking about good versus bad. So I think the point is that let's get on with the talks. Because Zambians are hating, the economy is declining. I don't know this thing called the quantum. I don't know where they got the information. There's no economy, it's gone, it's broken. We have to work hard to rebuild it when we come in. Yeah. Alfred, caused by political parties that UPN and PF are delaying the process. I agree. I agree. And that's why we're saying, let's get on with the job. I agree. And this dialogue, yes, it was triggered by the two large parties, if you like, representing the society. Yes, but the solutions will help every Zambian, will benefit every Zambian. If we end violence, will it benefit UPN and PF1? No. It will benefit society. So I agree that we should not delay the dialogue process. That's why we are proposing no preconditions. Any issue we have, if you want the ZCID to lead it, let's start the process, bring that item to the table. And we will show Mr. Lungu that ZCID team is an empty team. There's nothing in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We have come on to the end of the press briefing. But before that, let me just ask you to amend that. Deputy